You're listening to the Lux Life Discovered podcast, where we talk with people who are living a lifestyle that reflects their passion, because we believe everyone should be living their best life, their Lux Life. The show is hosted by Rick Steiner with Steiner Event Group, a premier national event planning company. If you are watching on YouTube, be sure to hit the subscribe button and the bell to get notifications of future episodes. The show is produced by 30A Media and is broadcast on your favorite podcast outlets, as well as YouTube, Roku TV, Amazon Fire TVs, and other major brand smart TVs.
Hello, I'm Rick Steiner. Welcome to Lux Life Discovered. My guest today is Rodney George with Lux Travel Consultants. So Rodney, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks a lot. Glad to be here.
Well, we're glad to have you on. You're in a big time of year where I'm sure you've already had a lot of people planning trips for the spring, but I'm assuming summer's your busier time as well. Is that right?
No, because it's just the opposite. We're here in Naples, Florida, and so the snowbirds are migrating north this time of year.
Okay,
And our clientele basically books somewhere between 12 and 18 months in advance. So we do very, very little last minute kind of stuff. So summer's a slow time here. It's kind of a time to catch our breath, and it's a good time for us to travel because it gets so blasted hot down here in August and September that it's right in your face all the time.
Right. So you're one of the cruise planner franchises, but you're Lux Travel Consultant. So what makes it Lux Travel? Kind of give us a little, expand on that a little bit.
Well, Rick, everybody has their own idea of what Lux or luxury is.
Right.
And that can be anything from, people think that the Marriott Hotel is luxury, and that's okay. But in our estimation, we happen to live in a very target-rich environment for luxury. I mean, Naples, Florida, per capita income and net worth, one of the highest areas in the country. So, and most of the people here, a high percentage of them are retired already. So they have the two things that are perfect for a travel advisor. They have time to travel, and they have the money to afford it.
Exactly. Yeah. Two things that are very important and nice to have.
Yeah.
So what are some of the where are some of the markets that you really that your clientele focuses on?
Well, Europe's always big because, even if you've been to Europe several times, you probably want to go back and see something or see some of the same things you saw before. But what's interesting right now is that Egypt is rapidly moving up the charts as a destination because it's finally at least fairly safe to travel there. Another destination that's really popular right now are the poles, the Arctic and the Antarctic. Antarctica being more interesting because that in fact is the seventh continent, and a lot of people are just trying to check that seventh continent off of their travel bucket list.
Right, and I'm sure with your clientele, you have a lot of people that have been to Europe several times, so they're looking for that next unknown destination to explore.
Yeah, the luxury traveler, I've got clients that have been to 130, 140 countries. So they're looking for something different. So they're looking for excitement and expedition kind of travel. And smaller ships, especially for cruises, have become the order of the day. I'm going to Europe in about 5 weeks to check out a 100-passenger mega yacht. Because we do business with a lot of clubs, country clubs, yacht clubs, etc. down here, and they like the appeal of having the ability to take a whole ship and fill it up. That would be 100 people basically. So I'm going to check it out because there's no way I would put 50 clients or 100 people on something that I have not seen before. So I'm going to go check it out. It's one of those things you have to take one for the team, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, what a rough way to do it too. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It's tough.
Well, so that brings up an interesting point. So you do have some clients that would like just book the entire yacht or ship for their need for that travel.
Do that. We've done that several times in the last couple of years where we take a whole ship.
That's nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
What has been your favorite destination?
Without a doubt, hands down, Bora Bora. As a matter of fact, we're going back there next summer. They've got two different sailing dates on the Paul Gauguin ship, which is part of Ponant. Just came out of dry dock on April 1st. It's a total refurb of virtually everything in the ship, and I can't wait to get back to Bora Bora. It's just my favorite place on earth.
Wow, that's nice. So when somebody contacts you, is a lot at this point, is a lot of your work referrals, a lot of your clientele referrals?
Yeah, pretty much, Rick. We've been in business for 17 years, 15 of it here in Naples, and so it's pretty much all repeat and referrals. I have 9 other agents that work with me in my office, and between us, we've got close to 200 years of experience
Wow.
in travel advice. So yeah, we it's repeat and referral. We
Yeah,
don't
and
we
that's
s-
yeah,
just don't
that's
do any
I'm sorry.
advertising or no, it's okay. Sorry.
No, you're fine. No, I was going to say that's really important because when people, and this is something you can clear up too while I'm here. A lot of people think when they pay a travel agent that they're going to, some cases they feel like they're not using their money wisely.
Yeah.
Kind of disprove that myth.
Well, that's the number one thing that travel advisors have to get across to the public. And that is, we don't cost you anything. In most cases, we're going to save you money. We're part of Cruise Planners, which is 3,000 franchises across the United States. But we're also members of the Signature Travel Network, which is one of the top 2 or 3 largest travel consortiums in the United States. So when we go to the cruise line, we're not just talking about our little office here in Naples, Florida. We're out there with thousands of other travel advisors with packages and deals and pricing that has been negotiated for them. More times than not, we're able to get the client some additional perks, perhaps a price reduction, uh, but always something better than they would have gotten by calling uh, the purveyor, be it a tour operator or a cruise line or whatever, directly.
Right. And with your years of experience and knowledge of the different, destinations, the different ships, all that, you're able to inform a interested client in ways that, most people wouldn't be able to, or what things that they wouldn't even know to ask.
Yeah, between all of us in the office, it's kind of like, well, we've been there and done that, and we bought the T-shirt while we were there.
Yeah, no sense to reinvent the wheel, right?
No, no.
Yeah. So what brought you to the travel industry?
Well, I was a financial advisor for 30 years, and I
Okay.
retired at 55, and was bored to death. My friends make fun of me. They tell me that I'm the only person they know that flunked retirement.
Nothing wrong with that though.
So I started this 17 years ago for something to do, and now there's 10 of us in the office, and we have fun and give people great advice, and we get to travel a lot ourselves, which is one of my passions in life.
Yeah. Well, like you said, you have to take one for the team occasionally to go make sure everything's okay before they go.
I do.
What is one of the most interesting surprises or situations from your experience as a travel agent?
Interesting in what way?
Like surprise you like in a good way and also maybe a bad way, like one of your like, oh, I can't believe this happened, that type thing.
Yeah. Well, the surprises in a good way are abundant because we do a great job for our clients. We have, in addition to the advisors I was telling you about, we have 2 ladies that serve as what we call client service managers or executive concierge. So their whole job, once a trip is planned and everything's booked, is to take care of that client until they get back home, to make sure that everything is seamless and just as they ordered. On the bad side, there's a lot of things that can go wrong in today's world. Biggest hassles that we have by far are the airlines today, with the unpredictability of schedules, and now we're having trouble with air traffic controllers, and that all affects people's ability to get around the planet. But we deal with it on a daily basis. my cell phone's on my bedside table every night. So if I've got a client traveling and they call me at 3 o'clock in the morning, I get up and put my shorts and a t-shirt on and go make a pot of coffee and call them back and see what's going on and what do we need to fix.
Right. Goodness. So you're basically on call 24/7.
Yeah, but but you don't get very many of those. Our clients are seasoned travelers, and more times than not, if there is a hiccup, especially at the airport, they'll get in line, get it figured out, and move on to the next step.
All right. So with your bigger, larger clients that like book the ship, completely, do you have someone like your agent that goes with them, or that someone from your group is on site with them, right?
I would say always, but it's probably almost always. If we have a group of more than 20 or 30 people, we're going to send somebody with them just to make sure it's a seamless experience.
Sure. Yeah. What's your largest group that's done that, and where was their destination?
Oh, we typically do groups that are somewhere between 30 and 60 people, but our largest groups are well into the hundreds. We've got some people going next year to the Dalmatian coast out of Venice, from Venice to Athens, and we've already got 120 something people booked into that group. So we'll probably send at least a couple of people from the office to handle a group that size.
Wow.
It's
That's
not hard to find volunteers though, Rick.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. Your problem is probably trying to tell the ones that can't go why they're not going and they have to work. Yeah.
Right.
No. Well, so what is like the most unique destination? I mean, I know, we talked about Europe and then Bora Bora, but and you were talking about people going to the two poles now. What's the most remote that you're finding that people want to go to?
Well, we do a ton of business in Africa. We have 5 different vendors that we use to do African safaris and things. And those are pretty remote when you have a chance to sleep out under the stars, um, and you're hundreds of miles from any ambient light, and you can see literally the millions of stars in the cosmos. I mean, it's a total escape.
Right.
Um, and then I guess the one of the most unique places to visit, of course, would be the polar regions, because it's just things that you didn't think you would ever get to see.
Right. Yeah. That would be interesting because, yeah, the more remote. I've been to the interior of the Amazon in
Mhm.
Brazil a few times, and you're talking about the stars and stuff. I mean, that's just absolutely unreal. We were on an Indian reservation that's owned by the Munduruku Indian tribe, and it's 1.2 million acres, and they're a sovereign country within, or nation within the country of Brazil. And so this Grand Chief, he's over 27 villages. He has complete control over that area. I mean, it's like his law stands. And so it's interesting when you're in a place like that, because you just see things that you never thought about, because you didn't know they existed, because like the Southern
Exactly.
Cross. And so to be able to travel and see those type things, that's rewarding.
Yeah, when we were in Africa, one of the guides told us, he said, tomorrow night we're going to be out in the salt pans, and it will be dark enough that you're going to see the Southern Cross. And it made me think of that old Crosby, Stills and Nash song,
Yeah.
when you see the Southern Cross for the first time. So I had that queued up on my phone, and I had an external speaker. And so when he started his talk, I hit play, and everybody just freaked out. I mean, there was about 40 people in our group, and they loved the fact that we're listening to Crosby, Stills and Nash while he talks about the Southern Cross.
Yeah, that's neat. Yeah, because that's truly, when you see it, you're just like totally blown away by it. So what are some of the common responses you get from your travelers, even seasoned travelers? What do they have to say about their new experiences?
Well, I mean, you can go on our website and look at all of them, because they just come back. One a lady I went to high school with. Now that goes back a few years if you take a look at these gray hairs. But she said she and her husband went to Alaska a couple of years ago, and they said the most fantastic trip they'd ever had. And her closing line was, she said, "So Rodney, whatever you do, don't ever quit being my travel advisor."
That's great, and that says
Yeah.
volumes right there. So, And the Alaskan cruises, everybody that's been on one that I know, they say it's their best cruise they've ever been on. And
It's very unique up there. I mean, to watch a glacier calve off and to watch the whales breach and to go salmon fishing with a guide and to fly out and land on a glacier in a helicopter and put the
yeah,
clamp-ons on your shoes and walk around the glacier. I mean, it's things you don't see every day, obviously.
right. So speaking of that, do you recommend when people do a cruise that they do the other adventures along the way too? Or because a lot of people think when you go on the cruise, you're on the ship the entire time. But do you recommend different ports of call, taking advantage of the different options available?
Absolutely. I mean, as long as you're physically able to get up and walk off that ship, you ought to be getting off the ship because you're not going all you're going to see on the ship is more ship. You get off that
Right.
ship, and regardless of where the port is, and I also believe that it's probably some type of sin to go to Alaska and not go early enough to go up to Mount Denali and to Denali National Park. I'm sorry, Mount McKinley, because President changed the name back, I believe. But to see
Right.
that part of Alaska and take one of the most scenic train rides in the world from Denali National Park back down to where you get on the ship in Seward, Seward, Alaska. That's four of the best spent days I do every time I go to Alaska. It's just
Oh, wow.
phenomenal, phenomenal.
Well, good. So has there been a destination that has totally surprised you that you may have thought it's going to be okay, but then you're just totally blown away
Yeah,
unexpectedly?
you did your homework.
I'll
I
try.
tell you,
Yeah.
I was more surprised by the Western Canadian Rockies than probably anything I've done.
Interesting. Okay.
I had no idea, and we did it by train from Vancouver to Calgary, most of it
That's
on the
wow.
train, staying in Fairmont hotels every night. But we were in a big uh, dome topped glass domed train. Uh, I mean, you had I believe they said 240 degrees of viewing.
Wow.
And to take that train up into the Western Canadian, that's probably the second most beautiful place I've been, right after Bora Bora.
Interesting. Okay. And talk about different extremes there. That's nice too. Yeah.
Very different, very different.
Do you have seasoned travelers that like to do like one, like most of it, like some that like to do the exotic beaches and that's all they want to do and not explore the other options?
You know, again, most of our clients are 60 and up.
Okay.
So they've
Right.
they've done their share of sitting on a beach in their life. They really want to go and see and do.
And
And
that's good
whether that's a
because a lot
wine
of
trip or
people,
whether
yeah,
whether that's a wine trip where you're going to the vineyards or you're doing 17 Michelin rated restaurants in France and Spain over a 10 or 12-day period. It's really what is on their bucket list. We just did a survey from a club. I just got a bunch of the results back this morning, and 70% of the people that replied to this survey said the number one thing on their bucket list was staying in an over the water bungalow in Bora Bora.
interesting. Yeah.
I've been there, done that. I can share my real life experiences.
That's awesome. And when you can share your real life experiences, that adds much more weight than just seeing a video about it too. And that makes
I
it
think so. I think so. You know, we have our own podcast that we do, and I interview some of the top people from the world of travel. But people still want to know, well, what was your experience? You've been there and you've done it. Would you go
right.
back? And my experience usually is, yeah. And there are not a lot of places that I want to go back to because I want to see new stuff. But I
Sure.
would definitely go back to Bora Bora. I'd definitely do the Canadian Rockies again. And there's a few places that I really, really love on this planet.
So have you been to Egypt? You
Yes,
mentioned
sir.
Egypt was a big place. So yeah. So what's the appeal to Egypt that you think that's kind of caused so much interest recently?
It's much safer to travel there than it was, say, 10 or 12 or 15 years
Okay.
ago. A lot of people want to go and see the new museum in Cairo. The old museum was fabulous, and I can't wait to go back. We've got a group that's going next year, and I'll probably tag along with them. just to see the new museum. I mean, I've seen the pyramids, I've sat on a camel, but we're also going to do 7 nights on the Nile River, and I've never done that.
Oh, wow.
So that'll
Yeah.
be interesting.
Yeah, I guess for you, it's fun to see the different options that come up and then think, I need to go with that group and make sure they're okay. Because you're doing it for them.
Yes.
Yeah, you're doing it
I,
for
I,
them. Yeah, that's what's nice about it. So, where do you see yourself with your company, say, in 5 years?
oh gosh. Um, as long as I'm still alive and kicking, I'll probably be here. Having flunked retirement, I'm not anxious to try it again. I'm about as retired as I want to be. I still work 40, 50 hours a week, but it's not work because I love it.
Yeah. That's kind of how my podcast started. When I started doing some event planning work along the Gulf Coast, I was just amazed at the amazing diversity of talent that's in that area and people from various ages that have retired and moved to that area. And they're now doing something else after they retired from a corporate job and they're working probably twice as much, or harder,
Yeah.
but they're loving every minute of it. And their passion is unreal. So you brought up a good point about like I say older, but I'm 65, but like 60 and older that are traveling and, checking off their bucket list. Isn't it good to see that people that age aren't giving up and, just like sitting back, enjoying doing nothing? They're actually out active and exploring the world.
Yeah, I had a retired federal judge and his wife in the office the other day. They're clients of one of my top agent, and they're in their upper 80s and still out there doing it. I had a
Wow.
client last year at 94 years old, took a cruise to Alaska. So you're never too old. If you can get up and move,
Yeah.
you should be out there seeing things. And whether you're able to move the way you used to or not so totally relevant, but if you can move relatively pain free. And the other thing is I have found, especially living down here where there's a lot of people my age or older. I'm 73, and when I first moved here 15 years ago, a guy told me, he said, Naples is one of the few places you can move to in the world and think you're old and rich and be wrong about both.
That's great.
So you can't sit in your chair. You've got to keep
Right.
moving. And I think working and staying active keeps you younger.
Well, it does, and that's why those people are so happy, and they haven't given up. My parents, they my father farmed the whole time, got older, retired, and they sat at home and did nothing for years. And I think that had a lot to do with why their health declined because they just didn't give up, but at the same time, just stopped doing stuff.
I'll look here on my phone and tell you how many this week alone I've walked 35 miles already.
Have you really?
Yeah, I walk 4 or 5 miles every morning,
Yeah.
and then whatever I walk the rest of the day, and that just gets my day. That's a jump. That's like putting jumper cables on me in the morning. Get out there and get some fresh air and listen to a podcast or something like
Yeah.
that.
Oh, that's good.
And
My mother-in-law is 86. She walks 3 miles in the morning, 3 miles at night. If she gets in less than 20,000 steps in a day, she feels like she's wasted the day.
what a trooper! Wow.
Yeah, my wife is like, Mom, I may get 3,000 in one day, and I'm not don't feel guilty at all. And she's like, I'm afraid if I ever stop one day, then I won't do it. I'll talk myself out of it the next day. So she's a good example too. But
Yeah,
um,
you sit still very long. The grim reaper will catch up with you.
but he's gonna have to run fast to get her. So
Yeah, it sounds like it.
he's got his work cut out for him, no doubt about it.
Yeah, for
So,
sure.
um, what is you when you have people? Of course, you said all your or most of your clients are referral and repeat business, but do you ever run into a new client that has some just like that you're surprised by their apprehension to not only use a planner but to travel to different places?
Well, I think everybody is a little bit afraid to go to new places, especially if they're single, traveling by themselves, that kind of thing. But on the other hand, there's a lady that works at a club that I belong to as a bartender, and she travels the world by herself. She gets time
Really?
away, and
Okay.
man, she's gone.
And that's nice to be able to do that. Yeah. It's nice to be able to do it, but then also to have that freedom to allow yourself to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you just have to, it's like an old friend of mine used to say, he said, people were born to travel. That's why they have legs and not roots.
That's true. So when you talk about the different clubs you work with, how do you get your association with them? How is that connection established?
Usually from a member that recommends us in, but if not, if we don't get recommended in, we usually call whoever the social director or the activities director, or that
Okay.
type of person is usually who's calling the shots at a club.
All right. And then talk a little bit about your podcast too.
I started a podcast a year ago this month, and we've done 36 or 37 episodes, and I interview some of the top people within the travel industry, be it a tour operator or a cruise line. And it's really nice because people love hearing from the decision makers at the top and hearing
Right.
about what's new and exciting and what's coming that they can talk about, because some of these guys work for publicly traded companies, so there's certain things they can't talk about. But just to be sitting here having a conversation with the CEO of a major luxury cruise line is pretty fun. Uh, and when you pick up the phone and you call him, you've got that one-on-one relationship already built, and so he or she is gonna take the call most likely.
Well, sure. And if you're like me, you find with your podcast, it opens doors that you wouldn't sometimes have opened. It just
It
makes
really
it
does. It
makes it
truly
much
does.
easier. Yeah. Well, good, good. So, what piece of advice would you leave with like someone traveling for the first time as well as a seasoned traveler? What's the best advice you could give somebody?
I would say always make sure that you've got a list, not a bucket list, because a bucket list is kind of a list of things you want to do before you die,
Right.
but a list of places that you want to go and that you still want to see. So you got something out there to start planning for and looking forward to. I think along the health lines that we were talking about earlier, I think it's really important to have stuff on your calendar a year, 2 years, 3 years from now to look forward to, and to get excited about. Because many times the excitement building up to a vacation that you've long wanted to do is almost as good as actually taking that trip. So I
Okay.
think you just need some things out there. I like to call it, a friend of mine calls it an experience list, things that I want to do.
Like that.
And she was very specific. She said, I don't want to go to the Kentucky Derby. I want to sip mint juleps on Millionaire's Row at the finish line while wearing an outrageous hat. So
I,
she's got that vision locked
right.
in.
Right. Well, I tell you what, the men juleps on Millionaires Row at the finish line is very nice. So good, good choice. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you know, we're going to put your information on the screen so that if people want to contact you, and we encourage people to do so. So if you want to just remind people how to reach you, your company, and John's going to put that up.
Yeah, the easiest way to reach me is just to call, and you're going to have a toll-free number up there on the screen. But a better number, if you want to just ring me directly, is 239-777-9862.
Okay.
And I don't know if you're going to put that up on the screen about the 25 secrets to a great vacation, but we have a free publication that they can get just by texting 25 secrets, 25 secrets to 66866. And that'll get them a free copy of our 25 secrets to a great vacation.
Okay.
I use those.
Go ahead, repeat that again if you don't mind.
You text it to 66866. That's the number that you text to.
Okay.
And just put in the subject line, just put 25 secrets. That's
Okay.
25 secrets. You don't spell anything out, but it's all run together. There's no spacing. 25 secrets, and then it'll ask you for your email, and then it automatically emails
Send that to you.
that
Okay.
out. Yeah.
All right. Excellent. Well, I sincerely appreciate your time today because I've really enjoyed this. And so when I'm in Naples, I'll make sure I touch base with you first. And if you're in the country and out on some great trip to Bora Bora, maybe we can meet in person then.
I'd love that, Rick. I'd love that. And by the way, going away, just remind everybody that my old friend Philip Randall from Atlanta, Georgia, he was a gerontologist, and he always said, enjoy yourself. it's later than you think.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah. And it takes people that have really enjoyed life and know how to live life to share that great wisdom with us, because
Yeah.
sometimes we wait till it's too late. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you again for being with us. And that concludes our episode of Lux Life Discovered. We'll see you soon.
Check out Lux Life Discovered on Facebook and Instagram and on 30a.tv. See you next time on Lux Life Discovered.